Hey guys, tonight we are talking about arguably the most successful man in all of human history, Alexander the Great. The undefeated general, the visionary conqueror, the man who forged an empire that stretched from Greece to India before his 33rd birthday. But forget the glorious cavalry charges, the cheering crowds, and the dozens of cities named after him. We're going to look at the crushing, deeply unpleasant, and boring reality of what it was actually like to be him. The truth is, you wouldn't survive a day in his sandals. Not because of the battles, but because of the relentless, soul-crushing pressure that started the moment you were born. So, before we begin, if you enjoy these quiet dives into history's unglamorous truths, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe. And as always, I'd love to know where you are listening from and what time it is in your part of the world. It's a quiet pleasure to see our global community of history sleepers grow. Now, let's travel back to ancient Macedon, dim the lights, and ease into the first great burden of being Alexander. Congratulations! You have just turned 13 in the royal palace at Pella, the capital of Macedon. The good news? You are Prince Alexander, son of King Philip II, heir to the most powerful and feared kingdom in the Hellenic world. The bad news? Your father is a brilliant, terrifying, one-eyed force of nature who has already conquered most of the things you were probably supposed to conquer, and he is not an easy man to impress. Your life is a constant, unending performance evaluation. Every lesson, every hunt, every conversation is a test, and you are being graded on a curve set by a man who redefined warfare, politics, and diplomacy, all while nursing a near-constant hangover. This is the first reason it sucks to be you. Your father's shadow is the size of a mountain. This is a major historical fact that is often overlooked. We think of Alexander's genius as appearing from nowhere, but in truth, it was forged in the shadow of his father's own monumental success. Before Philip, Macedon was a chaotic backwater kingdom of goat herders and warring tribes, looked down upon by the sophisticated city-states of southern Greece like Athens and Sparta. Philip changed all that. He took the throne, unified the bickering nobles, and reformed the army into a professional, unstoppable killing machine. He created the Macedonian phalanx, equipping his soldiers with the sarissa, an enormous 18-foot pike that turned his infantry formations into impenetrable hedgehog-like walls of death. He perfected siege warfare, using torsion catapults and siege towers to smash city walls that were once considered impregnable. He was a master of diplomacy, using bribery, political marriages, and threats with equal skill. By the time you are a teenager, he has already subdued all of Greece, either through conquest or forced alliance. Your father founded Macedonia a swamp and is determined to leave you an empire. It makes asking for an increase in your allowance a very intimidating prospect. You live in the palace at Pella, a world of calculated intrigue. Your closest companions are the royal pages, the basilikoi paides. This is an obscure but vital part of Macedonian court life. They are the sons of other powerful nobles, sent to court to serve as your father's personal attendants. This system is part finishing school, part hostage program. It teaches the boys loyalty and how to behave at court, but it also ensures that their fathers, the powerful lords of Macedonia, think twice before starting a rebellion. You grow up surrounded by the ambitious sons of your father's most dangerous allies and rivals. You learn from a young age that every friendship is a potential alliance, and every argument could be the seed of a future civil war. Your relationship with your father is a mixture of awe and terror. He loves you, you think, but his love is demanding, conditional. He has a face scarred by a dozen battles and is missing an eye, lost to an arrow during the siege of Methone. He doesn't see this as a disfigurement. He sees it as a permanent and very effective negotiation tactic. He pushes you constantly. He hires the greatest mind in the world, the philosopher Aristotle, to be your personal tutor. You spend your days studying logic, ethics, politics, and medicine, but every time you master a complex philosophical argument, your father raises a glass to you and then reminds the court that philosophy has never stopped a Thracian cavalry charge. No pressure to be a perfect warrior, poet, king, though. Take your time. Whether Philip viewed his brilliant, intense son with immense pride or with a growing, nagging sense of competitive jealousy is a question that lies at the dark heart of their complex relationship, something the ancient sources only hint at. One day, a horse trader brings a magnificent black stallion to the court. The horse is named Bucephalus. He is beautiful, powerful, and completely wild. No one can ride him. He rears and kicks at every man who tries to mount him. Your father, annoyed at the waste of time, is about to send the horse away. But you, a quiet teenager, speak up. You tell your father you can ride this horse. The court laughs. Philip scoffs. But you have noticed something they haven't. The horse is not wild, it is afraid of its own shadow dancing on the ground. You make a bet with your father. If you can ride it, he will buy it for you. If you fail, you will pay the full, exorbitant price. You walk calmly to the horse, turn its head towards the sun so it can no longer see its shadow, and speak to it softly. Then, in one fluid motion, you swing yourself onto its back. Bucephalus is surprised, but calm. You ride him around the courtyard to the stunned silence and then thunderous applause of the court. You have done it. You have succeeded where all the other men failed. You ride back to your father, your heart swelling with a rare, uncomplicated sense of triumph. Philip comes to you. There are tears in his eyes. He is proud. But what he says to you is not simply, "Well done, son." He says, "Oh, my son, you must find a kingdom equal to yourself, for Macedon is too small for you." It is the greatest praise he has ever given you. It is also the heaviest burden. He is not just acknowledging your potential, he is giving you a command. He is telling you that everything he has built, this kingdom, this army, this power, is not enough for you. You must go further. You must conquer more. You have just stepped out of his shadow, only to realize he has used your own success to cast it even further across the Hellespont towards the vast, unconquered empire of Persia. The pressure has just been ratcheted up to an impossible new level. You have tamed the wild horse. Now, you must tame the world.
If the pressure from your father is a tangible, crushing weight of earthly expectation, the pressure from your mother is a strange, intoxicating, and equally heavy poison. This is the second reason it sucks to be you. Your mother, Queen Olympias, is a woman of deep piety, fierce ambition, and questionable taste in household pets. While other mothers are teaching their sons basic decorum, yours is teaching you that you are directly descended from Achilles on her side and Heracles on your father's side, and that you are also, most likely, part god. This makes for very awkward conversations during your philosophy lessons with Aristotle. Your mother is not a quiet, respectable Macedonian noblewoman. She is a princess from the rugged, mountainous kingdom of Epirus, a land steeped in ancient mystical traditions. This is a major historical fact that defines your childhood. You are raised not just in a court of soldiers and politicians, but in a world of omens, prophecies, and ecstatic religious rites. Olympias is a devout follower of the mystery cult of Dionysus, the god of wine, madness, and religious ecstasy. While your father is off conquering cities, your mother is participating in secret, torch-lit ceremonies in the woods with her circle of female devotees, dancing in a frenzy to the beat of drums and, according to lurid court gossip, handling large, tame snakes. This is an obscure but famous detail about your mother that haunts your early life. The historian Plutarch would later write that Olympias kept serpents in her chambers and that they would sometimes be seen coiling around her as she slept. This terrified your father. Philip is a man who is not afraid of an entire army of Athenian hoplites. He is, however, deeply and profoundly uncomfortable with the large snakes that your mother considers to be sacred companions. This creates a certain amount of domestic tension, especially when one of them is found sleeping in the royal bed. How much Olympias genuinely believed in her son's divinity versus how much she cynically used these religious claims as a brilliant political tool to secure his succession against Philip's other wives and children is the central, unanswerable question of her character. Either way, it works. The court sees her as wild, otherworldly, and dangerous. They see you as the product of this strange and powerful magic. Your entire life is framed for you as a divine narrative. The story of your birth is not a simple clinical event. Your mother claims that on the night before her wedding, she dreamed that a thunderbolt struck her womb, igniting a great fire that spread across the world. Philip, in turn, supposedly dreamed he was sealing her womb with the image of a lion. These are not stories you hear once, they are repeated, whispered, and solidified into fact. They are your personal mythology. You are not just a prince, you are the son of the thunderbolt, the lion-sealed child. This is a heavy burden for a boy who is still trying to figure out long division. It's hard enough having a father who expects you to conquer the world. It's another level of pressure entirely when your mother genuinely believes you are the son of Zeus and casually mentions it at state functions. It really raises the stakes for your quarterly performance reviews. Every achievement is no longer just a personal success, it is proof of your divine nature. When you tamed Bucephalus, a callback to your great triumph, your father saw a brilliant horseman. Your mother saw a demigod bending nature to his will. Every storm on a campaign is a sign from Zeus. Every eagle that flies overhead is an omen. You are not allowed to have a simple, lucky day. Every moment of good fortune is further evidence of your celestial parentage. This isolates you. You are close with the other royal pages, your companions in the court, but there is always a wall between you. They are the sons of men. You are, allegedly, the son of a god. They can fail. They can be ordinary. You cannot. Your mother's ambition for you is a cage made of prophecy. She is your fiercest supporter, your most devoted ally, but her support is suffocating. She sees your father's other wives and their sons not as family, but as mortal rivals to her divine project. She whispers poisons in your ear, not literal poisons, but the more dangerous poisons of suspicion and paranoia. She tells you to trust no one but her. You are caught between two immense competing forces. Your father, the pragmatic, worldly king, demands that you be a master of this world, a general, a politician, a ruler of men. Your mother, the mystic, otherworldly queen, demands that you be a master of the next world as well, a demigod, a fulfillment of destiny, a man who communes with the gods. One wants you to conquer the earth, the other wants you to touch the heavens. And you, a teenager in the middle of it all, are just trying to get through the day without being trampled by a horse or having one of Olympias's sacred snakes steal your breakfast. The pressure to be great is coming from all sides, and you haven't even inherited the throne yet.
So you are the son of a brilliant, terrifying king and a mystical, manipulative queen. This would be difficult enough in any circumstances, but you are not just any prince. You are the heir to the throne of Macedon, and the Macedonian court is not a place of polite manners and gentle diplomacy. This is the third and perhaps most immediate reason it sucks to be you. The court at Pella has all the relaxed, trusting atmosphere of a cage full of hungry wolverines who have just been told there is only one piece of meat left. Every smile is a calculation. Every friendly gesture is a potential trap. Every compliment is a probe for weakness. This is a major historical fact about your kingdom. Macedon is not like the sophisticated, democratic city-states of the south, like Athens. It is a semi-feudal, tribal kingdom where the king rules by the force of his personality and the loyalty of a powerful, proud, and dangerously volatile warrior aristocracy. These noblemen, the heads of the great clans, are your father's loyal companions in arms. They are also ambitious, heavily armed men who view betrayal, conspiracy, and political assassination as viable career advancement strategies. Your father, Philip, holds them in check through a masterful combination of shared glory, immense wealth from his conquests, and the constant, unspoken threat of swift and brutal annihilation if they step out of line. You are learning from a young age that power in Macedon is not inherited, it is seized and held onto with both hands every single day. Your childhood is spent among the sons of these very nobles in the program of the royal pages, a callback to the companions of your youth. They are your friends. You hunt with them, you study with them, you train with them. Hephaestion is your closest, most trusted confidant. But even this friendship is a political statement. You are also acutely aware that the boy you share jokes with today might be the man who tries to put a knife in your back 20 years from now to advance his own family's interests. You learn to be charming, but not too trusting. You learn to have friends, but to keep your own counsel. Whether Alexander's later paranoia and swift execution of his own friends was an inherent character flaw or a perfectly logical survival mechanism learned from a childhood spent in the murderous labyrinth of the Macedonian court is a question that haunts his legacy. The centerpiece of Macedonian court life is the symposium, the drinking party. This is an obscure but vital cultural ritual. It is not the refined Athenian affair of watered-down wine and philosophical debate you read about with Aristotle. The Macedonian symposium is a boisterous, often violent event where immense quantities of strong, unwatered wine are consumed. It is a test of masculinity, a forum for political maneuvering, and a dangerous hotbed of intrigue. Tonight, your father hosts a symposium. It's a chance for the men to bond. It's less a meeting of the minds and more a meeting of the fists. The goal is to get just drunk enough to swear undying loyalty, but not so drunk that you accidentally reveal your secret plan to usurp the man sitting next to you. As a young prince, you are present, but you are expected to drink sparingly, to watch and to learn. The great hall is filled with the roar of laughter, the smell of roasted meat, spilled wine, and sweat. The nobles, their faces flushed with drink, boast of their battle prowess and argue loudly over land rights. You watch your father navigate this chaos. He drinks with them, laughs at their crude jokes, claps them on the back. He is one of them, a warrior among warriors. But his one good eye misses nothing. He gauges every man's loyalty, notes every drunken slip of the tongue, and subtly plays one faction against another. You witness a dispute break out between two powerful dukes over a hunting territory. Their voices rise, insults are exchanged. They are on their feet, their hands on the hilts of their swords. The room falls silent. This is how kings get killed in Macedon. But before a blade can be drawn, your father stands up. He does not shout. He speaks in a low, dangerously calm voice, making a joke that is also clearly a command. The tension breaks. The two dukes, chastened, sit back down. Your father has restored order with nothing but his immense, terrifying presence. You have just witnessed a masterclass in managing violent men. You learn that every relationship is transactional, every alliance is temporary, and loyalty is a currency that must be constantly re-earned and renegotiated. This environment grinds away any youthful naivety. It teaches you to be wary, to be observant, and to understand that the smiling face of a friend can hide the mind of a rival. The pressure from your father to be a great conqueror and the pressure from your mother to be a living god are immense, but they are pressures for the future. The pressure of this court, the need to survive the daily intrigues and the nightly symposiums, is immediate and deadly. It is the crucible that is forging you, not into a philosopher or a saint, but into the kind of king who can rule these men, a king who is smarter, faster, and more ruthless than all of them combined.
You are 20 years old. You are a brilliant military commander in your own right, having already crushed rebellions and proven your courage in battle under your father's command. The delicate, dangerous dance of the court at Pella has become your natural habitat. You have learned to navigate its currents of ambition and betrayal. And then, one day, the music stops. This is the fourth reason it sucks to be you. Your inheritance will not be a peaceful transfer of power. It will be a baptism by blood and chaos. It is the year 336 BC. The occasion is a grand festival in the old capital of Aegae, celebrating the wedding of your sister, Cleopatra. The mood is festive. The entire Macedonian nobility is present. Your father, King Philip II, is at the absolute peak of his power. He has united Greece. He has built an invincible army. He is on the verge of launching his ultimate campaign, the invasion of the Persian Empire. To show his confidence, he enters the grand theater for the celebration, walking between you and his new son-in-law, having sent his bodyguards ahead. It is a grand gesture of a king who feels untouchable. This turns out to be a terrible miscalculation. In Macedon, unarmed is just another word for target practice. As he enters the theater, a figure lunges from the crowd. It is Pausanias, one of his own bodyguards. He plunges a dagger deep into your father's chest. For a moment, the world freezes. Then chaos erupts. Philip stumbles and falls, his life bleeding out onto the stone floor. Pausanias tries to flee, but he trips, is caught by other guards, and is killed on the spot. The king is dead. Your father is dead. And in that single bloody moment, you are no longer a prince. You are a contender in a sudden, brutal, and very public power vacuum. Congratulations, you are now King of Macedon. You have inherited a superb army, a full treasury, and a list of powerful nobles, any one of whom might have just murdered your father and is probably now planning to murder you. There is no coronation party. There is no time for grief. There is only a frantic, paranoid scramble to consolidate power before someone else does. This is a crucial historical fact of Macedonian succession. The throne is not automatically yours. You must be acclaimed by the army assembly. The soldiers must raise their spears and shout your name. If another contender, a cousin, an ambitious general, gets to them first, you are finished. You act with a speed and ruthlessness that shocks even the hardened Macedonian court. Aided by the powerful general Antipater, you present yourself to the army immediately. Your grief is a mask for cold, hard calculation. You secure their loyalty. You are acclaimed King Alexander III. But that is only the first step. Now you must deal with the fallout. The question of who was truly behind Philip's assassination has been the ultimate historical whodunit for over 2,000 years. Was it a lone, disgruntled bodyguard seeking personal revenge? Was it a conspiracy of nobles who feared Philip's growing power? Was it your own mother, Olympias, a callback to her fierce ambition, clearing the path for you? Or was it you? The sources are contradictory, the evidence is gone,
and the truth is likely buried under a mountain of politically motivated lies. It doesn't matter who did it. What matters is who could benefit from it. And that means every potential rival is now a threat that must be eliminated. Your first acts as the new king are not to issue grand proclamations about justice and prosperity. Your first acts are to conduct a swift and brutal purge. It's the Macedonian way of tidying up loose ends and is considered very effective HR management. You execute several princes from rival branches of the royal family. You have a powerful cousin, Amyntas IV, put to death. He had a legitimate, perhaps even stronger claim to the throne than you. He had to go. And your mother, Olympias, ever the helpful partner, takes matters into her own hands. While you are securing the military, she deals with your father's last wife, the young Cleopatra Eurydice, and her infant child, a baby who represented a pure-blooded Macedonian threat to your own succession. Olympias, according to the grim reports, forces Cleopatra to hang herself after having the baby murdered, some say by being burned alive in a bronze cauldron. You are reportedly horrified by this brutality, but you do not punish your mother. The threat has been neutralized. This is what it takes to claim your crown. You are 20 years old, and your reign begins with the public murder of your father and a wave of politically necessary executions, some of which may have been your own relatives. The shadow of your father is gone, a callback to the burden you've carried your whole life. But it has been replaced by something far worse. The blood on your hands, the paranoia in your heart, and the chilling knowledge that the only way to hold on to power in this kingdom is to be even more ruthless and terrifying than the man who came before you. You wanted the throne. Now you have it. And you are utterly, completely alone at the top.
You are now the king. The purges are complete, your rivals are dead, and the crown sits uneasily on your head. You might think you now have a moment to grieve for your father, to consolidate your power, to perhaps redecorate the palace and get rid of some of your mother's more alarming snake-themed pottery. You would be wrong. This is the fifth reason it sucks to be you. Your inheritance isn't just a kingdom, it's a collection of resentful, barely suppressed subjects who now think you're an untested boy they can push around. The Greek city-states to the south, proud, cultured, and deeply arrogant places like Athens and Thebes, had been conquered by your father, but they were never happy about it. They saw your father as a semi-barbaric warlord from the backwoods of Greece. Now that he's dead, they see you, his 20-year-old son, as an opportunity. The news of Philip's assassination travels south, and the Greek city-states react with all the predictable subtlety of a wolf that has just heard the shepherd has died. In Athens, the great orator Demosthenes, your father's most bitter enemy, reportedly appears in public wearing festive garlands to celebrate Philip's death. Rumors, encouraged by Demosthenes, begin to spread that you yourself have been assassinated. Thebes, a city with a proud military history, immediately revolts, expelling the Macedonian garrison your father had installed there. They are betting on the idea that you are too young, too weak, and too busy dealing with the chaos at home to respond. Your older, more experienced generals, men like Antipater and Parmenion, advise caution. They suggest you take your time, secure your borders to the north, and use diplomacy to bring the Greeks back into line. Your first foreign policy decision is to prove that you are even scarier and less patient than your famously scary and impatient father. You decide on a faster, more persuasive approach, marching your entire battle-hardened army south at a speed that defies logic and known principles of military logistics. You move so fast that you arrive in southern Greece before the news of your departure has even reached them. You appear with 30,000 soldiers at the gates of cities that thought you were still in Macedon, planning your father's funeral. The shock is absolute. The rebellion in most of Greece collapses overnight. The Athenians, upon hearing that you are not, in fact, dead and are now parked just outside their city with a very large army, immediately have a political change of heart. They vote to congratulate you on your ascension to the throne and offer you their sincerest apologies for any recent minor misunderstandings. But Thebes, proud and defiant, refuses to back down. They bar their gates and prepare for a siege. They have made a terrible mistake. You now have to make a choice. You cannot leave a rebellious city standing at your back as you prepare to invade Persia. You must make an example of them. The siege is short and brutal. Your army, the machine your father built, is ruthlessly efficient. They storm the walls and take the city. What comes next is not a negotiation. It is a calculated act of political terror. This is where you learn the grim Greek word anthropodismus, the complete and utter destruction of a city. Whether your decision was born of cold strategic calculation or a genuine fit of rage from a young king who felt personally betrayed by their rebellion is a question that reveals the difficulty in separating the strategist from the man. The order is given. To ensure no one else in Greece gets any bright ideas about freedom, you decide on a measured and proportionate response. You burn the entire city of Thebes to the ground. Every house, every temple, every building is to be leveled. The only structure you order to be spared is the house of the ancient poet Pindar, a single, strange act of cultural respect in the midst of utter devastation. The men of military age are executed. The rest of the population, more than 30,000 women and children, are rounded up and sold into slavery. The news of the annihilation of Thebes, one of Greece's oldest and most powerful cities, spreads like a shockwave. It is a brutal, horrifying message to the rest of the Hellenic world. The boy king is not his father. He is something far more dangerous. He is faster, more decisive, and utterly without mercy when challenged. You have secured Greece. You have crushed all dissent. You are now the undisputed master of the Hellenic League. And you have achieved it through an act of such savage cruelty that it will stain your name for the rest of history. You are 20 years old, and your first major act of foreign policy was to wipe a city off the map. There is no glory in this, only the cold, grim satisfaction of a lesson brutally taught. The path to Persia is now clear, paved with the ashes of Thebes.
You have done it. Greece is quiet. The ashes of Thebes serve as a smoking, silent warning to anyone else who might consider having an opinion about your rule. You are now free to turn your attention to the east, to the great, glittering prize your father dreamed of, the reason he built this magnificent army, the Persian Empire. This is the sixth reason it sucks to be you. You are about to launch the most ambitious invasion in history, a campaign against the wealthiest and largest empire on Earth. You will do this with a treasury that contains mostly dust, a few IOUs, and a staggering amount of debt. Your plan is to fund the war by winning it. It is the ancient equivalent of paying for your groceries with a lottery ticket you haven't bought yet. This is a major and often overlooked historical fact about your situation. When you inherited the throne, you also inherited your father Philip's immense debts. He had spent a fortune building his professional army, bribing Greek politicians, and funding his campaigns. Now, as you cross the Hellespont from Europe into Asia in the spring of 334 BC, you are, for all practical purposes, broke. You have an army of around 40,000 elite, battle-hardened Macedonian and Greek soldiers. They are loyal. They are also unpaid. You have promised them glory, unimaginable riches, and the profound satisfaction of avenging a century of Persian insults against Greece. They are mostly interested in the riches part. Morale is high, but it is a fragile, credit-based morale. If you do not secure a decisive, profitable victory very quickly, your army will not just desert you, they will likely mutiny and kill you. Whether Philip's treasury was truly as empty as some ancient sources claim, or if this was a dramatic exaggeration by later historians to make your subsequent success seem even more miraculous, is a matter of intense historical debate. What is certain is that your entire campaign is an immense, high-stakes gamble. You are betting everything on your own military genius and the discipline of your army. You are Alexander the Great, king of Macedon,
hegemon of the Hellenic League and now commander of the forces in Asia. You spend your morning not planning epic cavalry charges, but in a Kent, having a heated argument with your quartermaster about the dwindling supply of barley for the horses and the alarming rate at which the infantry is wearing out their sandals. It turns out that conquering the world involves an astonishing amount of paperwork and logistical nightmares. Your army is a living, breathing city on the march, and it is constantly hungry. Every single day, it requires tens of thousands of pounds of grain, fodder for thousands of horses, and immense quantities of water. And you are now in enemy territory. There are no friendly supply depots to rely on. You must find food, or your invasion will starve to death within weeks. Your army's speed is its greatest asset. This is partly due to the soldiers themselves, the peasiteroi, or foot companions. This is an obscure but vital detail of your military machine. These Macedonian infantrymen, the backbone of your phalanx, were conditioned to carry their own gear. Each man carries his armor, his shield, his massive sarissa pike, and several days' worth of rations. This reduces the need for a slow, cumbersome baggage train of wagons and allows your army to move with the speed that consistently baffles your enemies. But it also means your soldiers are perpetually exhausted, carrying 60 to 70 pounds of equipment under the hot Anatolian sun. Your job is to balance their speed against their exhaustion, pushing them to the absolute limit of human endurance, but never beyond it. So your daily life is not one of glorious battles. It is a series of grinding, stressful calculations. You are not just a general. You are the CEO and chief financial officer of a massive mobile corporation that is constantly on the verge of bankruptcy. You spend your days studying maps not for tactical advantages, but to identify which local towns have the largest grain stores. You send out foraging parties with strict orders to purchase supplies if possible, but to take them by force if necessary. You have to manage the morale of your men, who are already starting to grumble about the lack of pay. You have to worry about the health of your horses, the state of your siege equipment, and the rumor that a Persian fleet is planning to cut off your non-existent supply lines from across the Aegean. You stand on a hill in Asia Minor, looking out over the land your father dreamed of conquering. The burden he left you, a callback to your tense relationship, is not just his ambition, it is his debt. You are here not just to win glory. You are here to capture enough Persian gold to pay your army, to stabilize your kingdom, and to fund the rest of the conquest. It's a vicious circle. To get the money, you must win. To win, you need your army. To have your army, you need the money. Every decision you make is shadowed by this grim, boring, and absolutely critical reality. The fate of your entire empire rests not just on your tactical brilliance, but on your ability to find enough food to get through the next week.
After weeks of marching through hostile territory, playing a desperate game of cat and mouse for supplies, the moment of truth arrives. The Persian satraps, the regional governors of Asia Minor, have finally gathered their forces to stop you. They have chosen their ground, the eastern bank of the Granicus River. This is the seventh reason it sucks to be you. The first real test of your entire invasion, a battle upon which the fate of your army and your kingdom rests, is a situation that any sane military commander would avoid at all costs. You have arrived at the river in the late afternoon. Your men are tired from a long day's march. The enemy is fresh, rested, and holds the high ground on the opposite bank. The river is not deep, but it is fast-flowing, with steep, muddy banks. To attack now would be to charge uphill, through water, into the teeth of a prepared enemy defense. You call a war council with your generals, your most experienced and respected commander, Parmenion, a man old enough to be your grandfather who has forgotten more about warfare than you have yet learned, gives you his sound, logical advice. He suggests you make camp, rest the army for the night, and cross the river at dawn, unopposed, to fight on level ground. He presents a cautious, sensible, and very safe plan. You, of course, decide to do the exact opposite, because listening to your elders is not a quality highly valued in men who believe they are descended from Zeus. You believe that any hesitation, any caution will be seen as weakness by the Persians and, more importantly, by your own men. The momentum of your invasion, you argue, is everything. You must strike now, while the fear of your name is still fresh. Whether Alexander's decision to charge across the Granicus was an act of tactical genius that correctly assessed the enemy's static and overconfident deployment, or a moment of reckless, youthful bravado that could have easily ended in a catastrophic disaster that would have finished his campaign before it truly began, is still furiously debated by military historians. But in this moment, it is not a debate. It is your command, and the weight of it is crushing. You look at the faces of your generals. You see the doubt in Parmenian's eyes. You see the nervous excitement in the faces of your younger companions. But they all look to you. You look out at the 40,000 men of your army, waiting for your signal. Every one of their lives depends on the decision you are making in the next 10 seconds. It is the loneliest, most terrifying feeling in the world, a unique brand of stress that does not appear in the heroic poems. You give the order, prepare for immediate assault. Now you must lead it. As the king, you have the privilege of personally leading the charge of the elite companion cavalry, the Hetairoi. This is an obscure but vital political necessity of your kingship. You are not a distant general commanding from a hill. You are a warrior king, and you must be the first into the fray, the first to risk death. It is a great honor, and an excellent way to get a Persian javelin in the face before your career has even properly begun. Your life is simultaneously the most valuable and the most expendable asset in the entire army. You put on your helmet, its distinctive white plumes making you an unmissable target for every enemy archer. You mount Bucephalus, your legendary warhorse, a callback to the day you proved yourself to your father. He feels your tension, his muscles twitching beneath you. You ride to the front of the right flank, at the head of your companion cavalry. You look across the river at the Persian line, a glittering wall of bronze and iron waiting for you. You can see their cavalry ranked on the very edge of the bank, a tactical mistake on their part, but a terrifying wall of men and horses nonetheless. You raise your lance. The army behind you shifts, a great beast of metal and muscle preparing to move. You are about to lead these men into a desperate, uphill charge, across a river, against a prepared enemy position. Everything your military training has taught you screams that this is a terrible idea. But your gut, your ambition, and the immense, crushing weight of your father's legacy and your mother's prophecies tell you that this is the only way. You must prove, here and now, that you are not just Philip's son. You are something more. You are a force of destiny. You take a breath, shout the order, and spur Bucephalus down the muddy bank and into the cold, rushing water of the Granicus River. The battle has begun, and you are the first one in.
You are charging through a freezing, fast-flowing river on horseback, wearing 70 pounds of bronze armor, while several hundred Persians on the opposite bank are actively trying to turn you into a human pincushion with their javelins. This is not a heroic poem. This is a very wet and very dangerous commute to your next argument. The water churns around your horse's legs, the current trying to pull you under. The muddy riverbed gives way, and your horse, Bucephalus, stumbles. For a terrifying second, you think you are going down, that your great campaign will end here, drowned in 3 feet of water before you even reach the enemy. But he recovers, finds his footing, and surges up the steep muddy bank and onto the shore. You have arrived at the battle, and the battle has been waiting for you. The scene on the riverbank is not a neat formation of soldiers. It is a chaotic, screaming, hacking melee. The Persian cavalry, caught flat-footed by your insane charge, cannot build momentum. You and your companion cavalry are already among them, your lances finding their marks. This is the 8th reason it sucks to be you. The physical reality of ancient combat. It is not a clean, chivalrous duel. It is a brutal, exhausting, and intimately violent business. The air is thick with the smell of sweat, blood, and terrified horses. The noise is a constant roar, the clash of bronze on bronze, the splintering of wooden shields, the screams of wounded men and animals. You are not a general viewing a map. You are in the very center of the storm. You break your lance on a Persian nobleman's shield. You discard the shattered stump and draw your sword. You are now fighting in a press of bodies, your arm aching with the effort of swinging your heavy blade. This is not about elegant technique. It is about brutal, repetitive endurance. You parry a blow, thrust, parry again. A man on your left goes down with a spear in his throat. You do not have time to register it. You are already engaging another. Your entire world has shrunk to the few feet of space around you, to the next threat, the next swing, the next desperate breath. This is where your personal risk becomes terrifyingly apparent. Because you are the king, with your distinctive helmet and armor, you are the primary target. You see 2 Persian nobles, brothers, charge directly at you. You engage one, a man named Spithridites. As you fight, the other brother, Rosaces, comes at you from the side. You are off balance. He brings his scimitar down on your helmet with all his force. The blow is immense. You feel a blinding flash of pain as the blade shears through your helmet, cuts off one of your white plumes, and bites into your scalp. The helmet cracks. You are stunned, your vision blurring. Rosaces raises his arm for the second, killing blow. This is how it ends, you think. A stupid, reckless charge. Your mother's prophecies were wrong. Then, out of the chaos, a spear appears. It plunges into Rosaces' side, lifting him from his horse. It is your friend, Cletus the Black. He has just saved you from certain death. You do not have time to thank him, as 3 more Persians are now trying to kill you. Teamwork is very important in the Macedonian army. You fight on, your head ringing, blood streaming down your face and mixing with the sweat and dust. The exact number of wounds you will sustain over your career is impossible to verify, but ancient sources describe you being hit by arrows, swords, stones, and spears on numerous occasions. Whether this was due to exceptional bravery or simply a statistically predictable outcome of always being at the front of the fighting is a matter of perspective. Somehow, your reckless gamble pays off. The Persian cavalry breaks and flees. The battle turns into a rout. You have won. Your first great victory in Asia is secured. But as the adrenaline fades, the pain begins. After the fighting is over, a surgeon inspects your wounds in your tent. His primary medical tools are a knife, a pair of tweezers for pulling out splinters, and a worrying amount of confidence. This is the grim reality of ancient medicine. He cleans your head wound by pouring raw wine into it, a measure that is both a disinfectant and a form of exquisite torture. Then he stitches the gash shut with a needle that was last used to mend a leather tent. For the pain, you are given more wine to drink. You are then advised to pray, which is probably the most effective part of the treatment. You lie on your cot, your head throbbing, your body a symphony of aches and bruises. You look around the camp and see the real cost of your victory. Hundreds of your men are wounded, being tended to in similar brutal fashion. Many more are dead. You won, yes. You proved your courage. You validated your insane risk. But the cost is written on the bodies of your soldiers and in the throbbing pain inside your own skull. Being a great warrior king, you are learning, means living in a near constant state of physical agony, lurching from one near-death experience to the next,
all while trying to ignore the fact that your own body is a temporary, fragile, and increasingly damaged vessel.
You have won. The Persian forces are scattered, their leaders dead, and the whole of Western Asia Minor now lies open to you. This should be a moment of pure, uncomplicated triumph. It is not. This is the 9th reason it sucks to be you. Your glorious victory is immediately followed by a series of profound political headaches, most of them caused by your own supposed allies. You have just won a great battle, theoretically for the glory and revenge of all Greece. You expect your Greek allies in the army, the soldiers sent from city-states like Corinth and Megara, to be celebrating. Instead, they are mostly complaining about the quality of the bread and subtly trying to figure out if it's too late to switch sides. This is the great, frustrating historical fact that underpins your entire campaign. You are the hegemon, the official leader of the League of Corinth, a federation of Greek states that your father, Philip, cobbled together through force and diplomacy. Your invasion of Persia is officially framed as a great pan-Hellenic war of revenge for the Persian invasions of Greece that happened over a century ago. This is your marketing pitch. The reality is that most of the Greek states are your reluctant, resentful partners. They are here because they are more afraid of you than they are of the Persians. Their loyalty is a fragile political fiction, and you know it. Whether the average Greek soldier in your army genuinely believed in the mission of pan-Hellenic revenge, or if they were primarily motivated by the promise of loot and the fear of their Macedonian commanders, is a question that cuts to the heart of the expedition's complex identity. Your first headache is what to do with the survivors, specifically the Greek mercenaries you captured. This is a deeply obscure and ironic part of your holy war. The most formidable, most professional infantry you faced at the Granicus were not the Persians, they were thousands of other Greeks, hoplites from cities all across the Aegean fighting for the Persian king simply because he paid them in good, solid gold. You are leading a great war of Hellenic revenge against Persia, and your toughest opponents are Greeks who are apparently in it for the better dental plan. The irony is so thick you could use it to build a siege ramp. You cannot treat them as honorable prisoners of war. In your eyes, and in the eyes of your official mission, they are traitors. They are Greeks who sold their swords to the barbarian enemy. You make an example of them. You have them rounded up, put in chains, and sent back to Macedonia to perform hard labor. It is a harsh, brutal message to any other Greek thinking of taking Persian money. It is also a move that will earn you the quiet, simmering hatred of thousands of families back in Greece whose sons, brothers, and husbands you have just condemned to hard labor. But you cannot afford to look weak. You must be the unyielding leader of the Hellenic world, even if it means being its most feared tyrant. Your next task is public relations. You need to frame this victory correctly for the folks back home, especially in the political snake pit of Athens. You need to reinforce the narrative that this is a Greek victory, not just a Macedonian one. So you make a grand gesture. You select 300 suits of captured Persian armor and have them sent back to Athens as a tribute. They are to be hung in the Parthenon, the most sacred temple in the city. And you attach a note. This is a callback to the political maneuvering you learned in your father's court. The note does not say, "From your beloved leader, Alexander." It says, "From Alexander, son of Philip, and the Greeks, except the Spartans, from the barbarians of Asia." It is a magnificent, petty, and deeply satisfying political insult. You praise the Greeks who fought with you, you pointedly ignore the Spartans who refused to join your league, and you frame the entire conflict as a civilizational struggle. It is a masterpiece of propaganda. But it is also exhausting. You are not just a general, you are a politician and a spin doctor, constantly managing the fragile egos and shifting loyalties of an alliance that, at its heart, despises you. You are fighting a war on two fronts, one against the Persian army before you, and another against the political treachery of the Greek cities behind you.
You spend your evenings not celebrating your victory, but dictating letters, managing envoys, and trying to guess which of your allies will be the first to betray you if you show a single moment of weakness. It's a lonely, cynical, and exhausting job, and you have just begun. Conquering the Persian Empire, you are learning, is the easy part. Managing the Greeks is the real war.
You spend months securing the coastline of Asia Minor, a series of tedious sieges and complicated political negotiations. Your life is a grind of logistics, diplomacy, and suppressing the occasional small-scale mutiny from Greek soldiers who have decided they would rather be at home drinking wine than dying for your ambitions. After securing the coast, you march your weary army inland into the heart of Anatolia. You arrive at the ancient city of Gordium, the former capital of the Phrygian kingdom. And here you are faced with a new kind of enemy. Not an army, not a fortress, but a piece of rope. This is the 10th reason it sucks to be you. You cannot simply be a brilliant general. You must also be a living, breathing fulfillment of every local legend and half-baked prophecy you encounter. You arrive in Gordium. The city leaders, instead of immediately offering you the keys to the city, guide you to the old Acropolis. There, sitting in a dusty temple, is an ancient ox cart. The yoke of the cart is fastened to its pole with an enormous, incredibly intricate knot of cornel bark. The knot is ancient, dried out, and impossibly complex. The local priests then tell you the famous legend. An ancient oracle declared that whoever could untie this knot, the Gordian knot, would become the ruler of all Asia. For centuries, kings, conquerors, and clever men have tried and failed. Now they look at you expectantly. You have just conquered half of Anatolia with military force, but your right to rule Asia is now apparently going to be judged based on your ability to solve a rustic, 1,000-year-old brain teaser. The pressure is immense. You're standing in a public square surrounded by your own soldiers, your generals, and the entire population of Gordium. Everyone is watching. This is not a private test of wits, it is a public performance. You cannot walk away. To ignore the challenge would be seen as an admission that you are not the man of destiny the prophecies speak of. It would be a sign of fear, a crack in your mythic armor. You cannot try and fail. To be seen fumbling with a piece of old rope for hours only to give up in frustration would make you look weak, human, and fallible. It would be a source of immense ridicule and would undermine your authority more than a lost skirmish. A callback to your mother's relentless conditioning, you know that you are not allowed to be merely human. You must be divine, and divine beings do not fail at prophetic puzzles. You approach the ox cart and examine the knot. It is impossible as the legends say. There are no loose ends. The cords are so tightly wound and dried out that it is impossible to see how it was tied. It is a brilliant, frustrating, perfect trap, designed to be admired, not solved. You understand the political dimension of this moment. Your entire campaign, your entire identity as a man favored by the gods is being weighed against this challenge. Whether you simply lost your patience and hacked at the knot in frustration, or if you deliberately planned the following act as a piece of brilliant political theater to create a new legend around yourself, is a question that gets to the core of your genius for propaganda. But your solution is swift and decisive. After a moment of contemplation, you announce that it makes no difference how the knot is undone. You draw your sword. The crowd gasps. With a single, powerful blow, you slice the knot in half. The tangled mass of bark and rope falls away, its ancient complexity severed by the simple, brutal logic of steel. You have not followed the rules of the puzzle. You have created a new solution. It is the Macedonian approach to problem solving. If you can't untangle it, stab it. The crowd stands in stunned silence for a moment and then erupts in cheers. You have done it. You have undone the knot. That night, a great thunderstorm breaks over Gordium with flashes of lightning and claps of thunder. Your propaganda team, ever efficient, immediately declares this is Zeus. your alleged father showing his approval with thunderous applause. The story spreads like wildfire. You are not just a man who cheated at a puzzle by breaking it. You are now the divinely sanctioned man who fulfilled the prophecy of the Gordian knot. Your destiny to rule Asia is now a matter of sacred record. You have once again been forced to perform a miracle on demand, and the weight of being the hero of every story, the subject of every prophecy, grows a little heavier on your shoulders.
After a winter spent consolidating your gains and dealing with the endless, mind-numbing administration of the territories you've conquered, you are on the march again. You move south, then east, deeper into the heart of the Persian Empire. The news finally comes. Darius III, the great king of Persia, the ruler of an empire that stretches from Egypt to the Indus River, has gathered a massive army and is coming to destroy you himself. This is the moment you have been waiting for. It is also the moment you have been dreading. This is the 11th and perhaps most terrifying reason it sucks to be you. You are about to face an army that vastly outnumbers your own, led by the most powerful man in the world, in a battle that will either make you the master of Asia or a footnote in someone else's history. The two armies meet on a wide, flat plain near the town of Issus in southern Anatolia. The numbers are daunting. The ancient sources, which were notoriously bad at math and notoriously good at dramatic exaggeration, claimed Darius's army numbered in the hundreds of thousands, a sea of men from every corner of his vast empire. Modern historians believe the number was likely much smaller, perhaps 60,000 to 100,000 men. Even so, it is at least double, possibly triple, the size of your own weary, road-worn army. Whether the Persian army was a disciplined, multi-ethnic fighting force or an unwieldy, disorganized mob of unwilling conscripts is a question that you are about to answer with extreme prejudice. The battlefield itself is another problem. The plain is narrow, hemmed in by the sea on one side and mountains on the other. This geography actually helps you. It neutralizes the Persians' numerical superiority, preventing them from surrounding you. But it also means there is no room to retreat. There is no room for clever maneuvering. This will be a brutal, head-on infantry slog, a grinder of flesh and steel. Your job is not just to win, but to survive. The night before the battle is a quiet, heavy torment. This is not a time for heroic speeches. It is a time of cold, hard fear. You walk through the camp. You see your soldiers, the veterans of your father's campaigns, and the young men you have led from Greece. They are not polishing their armor and singing songs of glory. They are sitting quietly by small fires, sharpening their blades, mending their gear, or simply staring into the flames, lost in their own thoughts. They are scared. You are scared. But you cannot show it. You must be the living embodiment of confidence, a serene, unshakable demigod on the eve of his greatest test. You feel the weight of every man's fear on your shoulders. It is the loneliest burden in the world. As you look out across the dark plain towards the endless sea of Persian campfires, you think of Darius. He is over there, in his magnificent royal tent, surrounded by his elite guard, the Immortals. He is dining on fine food, drinking from a golden goblet, and he has brought his entire family with him. This is an obscure but revealing Persian custom. The great king often brought his mother, his wife, and his children on campaign with him. It was a sign of his absolute confidence, a display of his royal splendor. His camp is a luxurious mobile palace. It is also, you realize, with a sudden cold flash of tactical insight, a liability. He is not just here to fight a battle. He is here on a royal tour. You, on the other hand, are here with nothing but an army that hasn't been paid and a desperate need to win. You have nothing to lose. He has everything. The morning of the battle arrives. The Persian army deploys. A magnificent, glittering line of cavalry, infantry, and archers that stretches for miles. In the center, you can see it, the ornate golden war chariot of Darius III himself. He is there, in the very heart of his army, surrounded by his best troops.
This is a callback to your own style of leadership. You too will lead from the front. This will not be a battle of distant generals moving pieces on a map. This will be a personal duel between two kings. You deploy your own smaller, more ragged army. The Macedonian phalanx in the center, a solid wall of 18-foot pikes. Your cavalry on the flanks. You ride along the line shouting words of encouragement. You call men by their names, recalling battles you fought with them. You remind them of the glory, the riches, and the promise of home. It is a masterful performance of a commander who feels no fear, no doubt. Inside, your stomach is a knot of ice. You take your position at the head of the companion cavalry on the right flank. You look across the field at the golden chariot of Darius III. You know what you must do. You cannot simply defeat his army. You must break him personally. You must charge directly at the heart of his line, at the great king himself. It is a suicidally reckless plan. It is the only plan that can possibly work. You raise your sword, the signal for the advance, and the long, slow, terrifying walk towards the Persian line begins.
The battle begins, and it does not start well. On your left flank, pinned against the sea, your general Parmenion is having a very bad day. He and his forces are being slowly and brutally ground down by the sheer weight of superior Persian numbers. He is doing his job, holding the line, but he is in trouble. He is sending you frantic messages, which probably say something along the lines of, "For the love of all the gods, stick to the plan and support my flank." You, of course, have a different plan. It is a much more exciting and significantly more suicidal plan. You know that you cannot win a battle of attrition. You do not have the numbers. You must win this battle not by defeating the Persian army, but by defeating the one man who holds it together. This is where you make the greatest gamble of your life. While your left flank is screaming for reinforcements, you turn your own elite companion cavalry on the right flank not towards them, but directly towards the center of the Persian line. You are aiming for one thing and one thing only: the magnificent golden war chariot of Darius III. This is not a subtle tactical maneuver. This is the ancient equivalent of ignoring all the other chess pieces on the board and trying to punch the other player directly in the face. It is a high-risk, high-reward strategy that relies entirely on a single, obscure, but fundamental principle of ancient warfare: the psychological importance of the king's person. An army's courage is a direct reflection of its kings. If the king is seen to fall, or even worse, to flee, the entire army, no matter how large, will lose its heart and collapse into chaos. You are betting everything on this one psychological vulnerability. You lead the charge yourself. You and your heteroi plunge into the river, then surge up the bank and crash into the elite Persian infantry guarding their king, the famous Greek mercenaries and the royal guard, the Immortals. The fighting is a chaotic, desperate, close-quarters hell. It is a storm of spears, swords, and screaming men. You are no longer a general. You are a single man on a horse fighting for your life, hacking a bloody path through a wall of bodies. An arrow glances off your breastplate, a spear grazes your thigh. You ignore the pain. Your eyes are fixed on one thing: the golden chariot. You are a force of pure, terrifying momentum. You and your companions, the best cavalry in the world, have become a single living spearhead driven by your will alone. The Persian guards, as brave as they are, begin to buckle under the sheer ferocity of your targeted assault. They see you coming, this 22-year-old lunatic on a great black horse covered in blood and dust, his eyes burning with a terrifying fire, leading a wedge of what appear to be absolute psychopaths directly at their king. And then the critical moment happens. Darius sees you. He sees you cutting down his personal bodyguards. He sees the unstoppable spearhead of Macedonian cavalry about to engulf him. He understands that you are not trying to win the battle, you are trying to kill him. And in that moment, he makes a sound, tactical decision. He turns his golden chariot around and flees for his life, setting a new land speed record for terrified despots. Whether Darius fled out of pure cowardice or if he made a calculated decision that preserving his own life to raise another army was more important than dying honorably in a lost battle is a question that Persian sources, had they survived, might have answered differently than the triumphant Greek ones. His flight is the signal. The moment the thousands of soldiers in the Persian army see the royal chariot careening away from the battle, a single thought ripples through the ranks. The king is gone. And if the king is gone, what are they fighting for? The heart of the army is ripped out. Their courage evaporates. The line collapses. What was a battle a moment ago becomes a panicked, chaotic rout. Soldiers throw down their weapons and run, trampling each other in their desperation to escape. Your smaller, exhausted army now becomes a machine of slaughter, cutting down the fleeing Persians by the thousands. You have won, not by being a better strategist in the traditional sense, but by being a better gambler. You risked everything on a single insane charge aimed at one man, and that man broke. You stand in the middle of the battlefield, surrounded by the dead and the dying, your body aching, your wounds stinging. You have just defeated the great king of Persia and conquered his army. And you have done so by a margin so terrifyingly thin that it feels less like a military victory and more like you have just survived a lightning strike. The burden of command, you realize, is not just about making plans, it's about being willing to throw every plan away and bet your entire empire on a single, desperate throw of the dice.
The battle is over. The rout is complete. The Persian army has dissolved into a terrified mob fleeing east, and you are the undisputed master of the field. But your day is not yet finished. Your soldiers bring you news. In his haste to flee and save his own skin, Darius III has abandoned his entire royal encampment, his treasures, his baggage, and, most importantly, his family. His mother, Sisygambis, his wife, Statera, his young daughters, and his son are now your prisoners. This is the 13th reason it sucks to be you. Your great military victory has just saddled you with the most awkward and politically charged domestic situation imaginable. You are now the reluctant guardian of your mortal enemy's entire family. You are escorted to the royal Persian tent. It is not a tent. It is a mobile palace of rich carpets, silk hangings, golden furniture, and a fully prepared feast that has been left untouched. It is a world of luxury and refinement that makes your own functional, smelly military camp look like a peasant's hovel. And in the center of this opulent prison are the three most powerful women in the Persian Empire, huddled together, weeping, absolutely convinced that you have come to murder them, enslave them, or worse. This is not a situation covered in your standard military training. There is no phalanx formation for dealing with a terrified, weeping queen mother. The women see you and your closest friend, the tall and handsome Hephaestion, enter the tent. Unsure which of you is the king, Darius's mother, Sisygambis, makes a logical guess and prostrates herself before Hephaestion, who is taller and arguably looks more royal than you, a man currently covered in dirt, sweat, and the blood of her army. This is proskynesis, the Persian custom of bowing to the ground before the king, an act that to Greeks is a shocking display of servility reserved only for the gods. It is a deeply awkward moment for everyone. Hephaestion freezes, horrified. You have to gently correct the old queen. "Do not worry, mother," you say, "for he too is Alexander." You help her to her feet, a gesture that completely baffles her. You now have a choice. By all the rules of ancient warfare, these women are your property. They are spoils of war, to be treated as you see fit. You could enslave them, hold them for a massive ransom, or simply execute them to eliminate Darius's line. Your own mother, Olympias, a callback to her ruthless pragmatism, would almost certainly advise you to do the latter. It is the safe, logical, Macedonian thing to do. Instead, you do something that is either an act of profound strategic genius or genuine compassion. Whether your famously chivalrous treatment of Darius's family was born from a sense of magnanimity and respect, or was a purely calculated political act designed to win the hearts and minds of the Persian nobility, has been debated by historians for centuries. The truth, as with most things concerning you, is likely a complex mixture of both. You assure Sisygambis and the other royal women that their lives are not in danger. You promise them that they will be treated with all the honor and respect due to their royal rank. They will keep their titles, their servants, and their dignity. You are not at war with them, you explain, but with Darius for the dominion of Asia. It is a magnificent gesture of chivalry. It is also a brilliant propaganda move that will make you look like a benevolent philosopher king instead of the ruthless invader you actually are. It is very, very good for your brand. But this noble gesture comes with a heavy price. You are now personally responsible for the health, safety, and honor of your enemy's mother, wife, and children. You must now travel with a royal court in tow. You must provide them with the comfort and security they are accustomed to. You must guard them from your own soldiers, who view them as plunder. Every decision you make is now complicated by their presence. Can you march as quickly with a royal entourage? What if one of them gets sick? What if Darius tries to rescue them? Your victory has not simplified your life. It has made it infinitely more complex. You have just acquired a second family, one that you must protect with your life, even as you continue to hunt down their patriarch with the intention of killing him and taking his empire. It is a strange, burdensome, and deeply uncomfortable spoil of war.
You are the master of the battlefield, the man who made the great king of Persia flee in terror. The path to the heart of the Persian Empire lies open. Logically, you should pursue Darius, finish the job, and claim your prize. Instead, you decide to turn south and spend the next 7 months arguing with a small, ridiculously stubborn island city over naval superiority. This is the 14th reason it sucks to be you. Your grand strategic vision is constantly being derailed by infuriatingly persistent obstacles. Your target is the city of Tyre, a Phoenician metropolis and the most powerful naval base in the eastern Mediterranean. It is technically a Persian subject, but it operates with a proud independence. You ask them to submit and allow you to make a sacrifice in their temple to Heracles. They politely refuse. They will be neutral, they say. You, a man who does not understand the concept of neutrality and who believes he is a literal demigod, do not take this well. The problem is, Tyre is an island. It sits about half a mile offshore, surrounded by the sea, and its formidable stone walls rise directly from the water. It is considered impregnable. They have a powerful navy, control of the sea, and enough supplies to withstand a siege for years. They look at you and your land-based army and essentially laugh. This is a direct challenge to your authority, your divinity, and your very tight schedule for world conquest. Whether your decision to commit 7 months and immense resources to the siege of Tyre was a necessary strategic move to secure your naval flank before moving on Persia, or an obsessive act of pride from a man who simply could not tolerate being defied by anyone, is a key debate among your biographers. Standing on the shore, staring at the smug, untouchable city, you suspect it's mostly the latter. Your grand plan to conquer the impregnable island fortress is to build a land bridge to it. You order your engineers to construct a causeway, a stone and timber mole stretching from the mainland across the sea to the city walls. Your army, the most formidable fighting force in the world, is turned into a construction crew. Soldiers who were trained to wield the sarissa are now hauling rocks and felling trees. It is a monumental, backbreaking, and almost insane undertaking. The Tyrians, from their high walls, watch this with what you can only assume is a mixture of disbelief and high-quality entertainment. The work is a nightmare. Your men are constantly harassed by the Tyrian navy. Their ships, agile and fast, sail past your construction site, launching arrows and catapult stones at your exposed workers. To protect them, you build 2 massive wooden siege towers at the end of the mole and equip them with your own catapults. The Tyrians respond by filling an old horse transport ship with combustible materials like pitch and sulfur, setting it on fire, and sailing it directly into your towers. The towers are consumed in a massive inferno. To make matters worse, a storm then rolls in and destroys most of the causeway you had spent months building. Your army's on the verge of mutiny, your generals are questioning your sanity, and you are filled with a cold, terrifying rage. But you do not give up. You order the causeway to be rebuilt, wider and stronger this time. You assemble your own fleet of ships from other conquered Phoenician cities to challenge the Tyrian navy. The siege becomes a slow, grinding war of attrition and engineering. And the Tyrians, for their part, become masters of creative, psychological cruelty. This is where you encounter an obscure but horrific defensive tactic. They heat sand in giant bronze shields until it is red hot and then launch it from their catapults onto your soldiers. The fine, burning sand gets inside your men's armor, between the plates and the padding, sticking to their skin and cooking them alive. There is no way to get it off. The sight of men screaming and tearing at their own armor in agony does more damage to your army's morale than any direct attack. The siege drags on for 7 agonizing months. It is not a glorious battle, but a miserable, ugly, grinding construction project punctuated by moments of extreme terror. Finally, the causeway reaches the city wall. Your siege towers, rebuilt and protected, are rolled into place. Your ships, now controlling the sea, blockade the harbors. You lead the final assault yourself, as always, being one of the first over the wall. The city falls, and your patience, after 7 months of frustration and humiliation, has run out. You unleash your army on the city. Thousands of Tyrians are massacred. The rest, some 30,000 people, are sold into slavery. You have won. You have proven that no wall can stand against you. No island is safe from your reach. You have also spent half a year, immense resources, and the lives of hundreds of your men to conquer a single, stubborn city, all because they hurt your feelings. Being great, you are learning, means that your pride often comes with a terrible, bloody price tag.
Years pass in a blur of conquest, siege, and bloodshed. You have done it. You have conquered Persia. You have marched through Egypt, where you were declared a pharaoh. You have founded dozens of cities that bear your name. You have pushed your army across deserts and mountains all the way to the edges of India. But your great ambition, the insatiable pathos, that obscure Greek word for a deep, yearning desire for what is just beyond reach, is not satisfied. You want to go further. You want to see what lies beyond the next river, the next mountain range. You want to march to the end of the world. And it is here, at the edge of the world, that your world finally breaks. This is the last and perhaps most bitter reason it sucks to be you. You are defeated not by an enemy army, but by the exhaustion of your own men. At the banks of the Hyphasis River in India, your army for the first time says no. This is a major historical fact, the only true defeat of your career. Your Macedonian veterans, men who have followed you for 10 years and 10,000 miles, who have fought with you at Granicus and Issus, who have crossed deserts and scaled mountains for you, refuse to go any further. They have had enough. They are weary to the bone, sick with strange fevers, and terrified of the giant war elephants and vast armies that are rumored to lie ahead. They are homesick. They want to see their families. They want to go home. You have conquered the known world, defeated every army, and toppled an empire. And you were finally stopped not by a Persian king or a grand army, but by your own exhausted, homesick men who have unanimously decided they would rather go home than see one more Indian war elephant. It is the most powerful and anticlimactic no you have ever received. You try to convince them. You make impassioned speeches. You speak of glory, of destiny, of the riches that lie just ahead. You appeal to their loyalty, their courage. But for the first time, your charisma fails you. They listen in respectful silence, and then they remain silent. Their silence is more powerful than any rebellion. In a fit of rage and despair, you retreat to your tent and refuse to come out for 3 days, a petulant demigod sulking because the mortals will no longer play his game. Finally, you relent. You perform the sacrifices, and the omens are, conveniently, unfavorable for crossing the river. You have been given a divine excuse to do what your men have demanded. You agree to turn back. You have been defeated by democracy in the form of thousands of very tired men. The journey home is a disaster, a long, drawn-out nightmare that kills more of your men than any single battle. But the worst blow comes when you are back in the heart of your empire, in Babylon. Your best friend, Hephaestion, the man who grew up with you, who you loved more than anyone else, dies of a fever. You are the master of the world, a supposed demigod, and you are completely powerless to stop your closest companion from dying of a common illness. Your grief is monumental, theatrical. You had the doctor who failed to save him executed. It does not help. You order a period of mourning across the entire empire and plan a funeral pyre of unimaginable expense, but none of it can fill the profound hollow emptiness in your soul. You are now truly, utterly alone. And then you get sick. A fever. The details are lost to history, a blur of conflicting accounts. Was it malaria, typhoid fever, poison, or just the accumulated exhaustion of a life lived at a constant feverish pitch? It doesn't matter. You, Alexander the Great, the man who survived a dozen battles, who was stabbed, pierced by an arrow, and had his helmet split open by a scimitar, are defeated not by a worthy opponent, but by a mosquito, a bad cup of water, or a simple virus. It is a profoundly boring and deeply unsatisfying end to a legendary life. You lie in your bed, in the palace of Nebuchadnezzar II in Babylon, your body racked with fever, your mind drifting. Your generals, your ambitious, ruthless companions gather around your bed. They ask you to whom you leave your empire. You whisper a final ambiguous phrase, toi kratistoi, meaning to the strongest. It is your last act, a final cynical spark of your courtly upbringing. You are not naming an heir. You are lighting the fuse for 50 years of civil war. Your story ends here, not on a triumphant battlefield, but in a sweat-swacked bed in a foreign land. You are 32 years old. You look around at the faces of your generals, the men who have followed you to the end of the world. You do not see friends. You see vultures, waiting for the lion to finally die so they can tear the carcass of your empire apart. You conquered the world, but you have no one to leave it to, no peace to enjoy, no home to return to. The immense, crushing pressure that has defined your entire life finally eases, not in victory, but in the simple, mundane reality of death. The great burden of being Alexander is at last lifted. The silence that follows is not the silence of a well-ordered kingdom at peace, but the quiet, hungry silence of ambition waiting in the wings.